Welcome to Mobile Legends! 5 seconds till the enemy reaches the battlefield. All troops deployed! Smash them!
Good day everyone, I am Kristen Jane A. Gaspi and we are the Group 3 and our topic is about the tax remedies and the assessment process. The National Internal Revenue Code provides solutions to the problems of the government in enforcing tax laws and a solution to the problem of the taxpayer against unlawful enforcement or collection of tax. These solutions are termed remedies. Basic purpose is to maintain equilibrium or balance between the interests of the state and the taxpayer. There are two types of tax remedies, the government and the taxpayers. On the part of the government, the one who provide an action and allowed in the law to implement the tax laws or enforce tax collection. And also, for the part of the taxpayer, a legal action which the taxpayer can avail to seek relief from the undue burden or oppressive effects of the tax laws, or to check possible excesses by the revenue officers in the performance of their duties. The remedy for the concern of a taxpayer to pay, and if it disagrees with the tax payment, file a claim for refund of incorrectly paid or illegally collected taxes. A closer look at many other decisions, however, would indicate the taxpayer faced with similar situation is free to choose which remedy to enforce. The next reporter will talk about the assessment process.
Good day everyone. So I will be discussing the stages of assessment process. So the first stage of assessment process is the tax audit or investigation. So on this stage, the BIR will conduct an audit by issuing a letter of authority. So a letter of authority is an official document that empowers a revenue officer to examine and scrutinize a taxpayer's books of accounts and other accounting records in order to determine the taxpayer's correct internal revenue tax liabilities. So, letter of authority is a formal letter that the BIR issued to the company. So, it contains a request from the BIR to conduct an audit through documents such as receipts, invoices, and accounting books such as sales books, general ledger, general journal, sales disbursement book, and etc. So, dito na nag-start ang audit ng BIR sa pag-issue ng letter of authority. So once you have received the letter of authority, you have 10 days to provide necessary documents and schedules for an audit. So, if you can't provide the documents and schedule that the BIR requested, the BIR will issue a letter of informal conference. Then there will be a meeting together with the BIR officers and the company to discuss the reason why they did not submit the necessary documents. So okay, for the next stage of assessment process is the issuance of preliminary assessment notice or PAN. A PAN is a communication issued by the Regional Assessment Division or by the Commissioner or his duly authorized representative informing a taxpayer who has been audited of the findings of the revenue officer. So before the issuance of preliminary assessment notice, there will be an analysis made by the BIR. So example, the taxpayer has already provided all the necessary documents and schedules to the BIR. So the BIR will have an analysis of the documents that the taxpayer submitted. So, ayahan na din sila mag-issue og preliminary assessment notice after nila mag-analyze sa mga documents na gisubmit. As a general rule, issuance of fund prior to fund is part of the due process requirement, the absence of which renders nugatory any assessment made by the tax authorities. So, issuance of fund prior to fund is part of the due process. So, ang issuance of fund is required siya aya dayon ka makakuha og final assessment notice nga i-issue na pod sa BIR.
The earlier stage was still a preliminary issuance. So in this stage 3, we're now on the formal issuance of letter of demand or final assessment notice. This is issued when the taxpayer failed to respond to the PAN or the reply to the PAN was found to be without merit. The question is, what does the taxpayer can do if we are already issued with the PAN? So you can file a protest to the CIR or the authorized representative within 30 days from the day of receipt of the fund. We have two types of protest. The first one is a request for reconsideration, which means that all existing documents that you've submitted will be examined again with the BIR. The second type of protest is the request for investigation. So aside from your initial submission of document, you have to present additional evidence. And the difference of these two types of protest simply is that when we say request for reconsideration, you don't have additional document to be presented, while the request for investigation, you will be submit more or additional evidence for the BIR to be examined. And if you choose the request for investigation, you are only given 60 days from filing of protest to submit all those supporting documents.
So, if you submit your protest either for reconsideration or for investigation and BIR did not accept your protest, in stage 4, denial of protest, there are two ways to know if BIR denied your protest. First, direct denial of protest. And second is indirect denial of protest. In direct denial of protest, they will send you a formal letter stated that you've been denied. But in indirect denial of protest, if you submit your protest but they did not respond to you within 180 days from the day of your submission, it simply means that you've been rejected or denied by BIR.
I will be the one to discuss the stage 5, which is the denial of appeal by CTA division. So if you are done filing to the CTA or Court of Appeal, they are in charge to examine and investigate that appeals. If that appeals is been denied or has been denied, or that is the time you are going to file a motion for reconsideration. So first is, what is motion for reconsideration? It is a legal request that allows you to ask the judge for reconsiderate your ruling. So if you file a motion for reconsideration, it is 15 days after the denial of the appeal. So if still it doesn't work, the MR is still denied, you need to file an appeal in the CTA en banc within 15 days from the receipt of the
Stage 6. This stage is denial of appeal by CTA division. Once your CTA and bank denied your appeal, you can file motions for reconsideration before the CTA and bank within 15 days from set of the decision. So like, inginin mo si CTA and bank na i-reconsider niya imong appeal. Then, if motion for reconsideration is denied, file an appeal with Supreme Court Division within 15 days from set of the decision. So again, kani siya mori apon ang kuan adlaw, mas dali nimo siya menduman kay 15 days ra.
The next stage is stage 7. So the case here is, what if your appeal is denied by the Supreme Court Division? Again, here's what you can do. You will file for motion reconsideration in the Supreme Court Division within 15 days from the receipt of the decision. So, what if your motion reconsideration is denied? You can file an appeal to the Supreme Court en banc within 15 days from the receipt of the decision. Lastly, the Stage 8. What if you file an appeal in the Supreme Court en banc but en banc said it is denied again? Here's what you can do. First, you can file a motion reconsideration in the Supreme Court en banc within 15 days from the receipt of the decision. But if your motion reconsideration is denied again, the taxpayer has no more remedy, meaning the assessment shall become final, executory, and demandable. This is the dead end for the taxpayer, that if the motion reconsideration is denied by the Supreme Court en banc, you have no other remedy but to pay what BIR collects to you.
So the next topic will be an assessment period. So what is an assessment? Let's define first what is assessment. An assessment is the process of determining the tax liability of the taxpayer. For example, if one corporation file an income tax return, the BIR will require them to attach their audit so that the BIR have basis of a correct and exact tax paid by the taxpayer or that corporation. So that is an assessment. Then next is assessment period. What is an assessment period? An assessment period is a rolling 1-month period that starts on one day you first year made universal credit claim. For example, if I filed a universal credit claim on October 21, my first assessment period will run from October 21 to November 20. Then my second assessment period will run from November 21 to December 20. An assessment is a recording of tax debt by the book of IRS. As a general rule of assessment period, the IRS must assess additional tax and propose penalties to later than 3 years after either a tax return is filed or the return's due date, whichever is later RIC Section 6501.
Good day, my name is Jennifer D. Lanata. I will define tax procedures. Tax procedures calculate taxes for full-time employees based on total net remuneration amount. Part-time employees are not taxed using tax procedures, but rather at a flat rate. However, a part-time employee can be considered a full-time employee if they submit an employment letter. Like for example, 12 months or 52 weeks, there are no tax fluctuation caused by these tax procedures, as the tax procedure is not affected by a different amount of days in a period. And here are the 8 stages.